but let me get back to your question. It's a valid question. Would I buy from someone who asked me if I knew that they were mistreating their employees?
Or underpaying them. Or mistreating them through underpaying them.
Well, the answer to that is yes or no. And this is what I mean by that. What's the alternative? I would like to live in an ideal society where everybody's happy, everybody's driving a Lamborghini or their choice of cars, everybody has a house with 5 bathrooms. I would love, really, truly, everybody to have that. So, but now, let's go down to reality. If they mistreat their people, but still employ them, it's still better than them not getting any money at all. If that's the only alternative, and that's the key word.
That's a slippery slope there,
but,
though, because then
but
you
there's
could say
no choice.
if they're getting a quarter an hour, at least they're getting nothing. If they're getting a nickel an hour, then at least they're not getting anything.
No, and
but
here's...
Then you couldn't turn around and complain when they use Medicaid because they're only getting a quarter an hour and they can't afford it.
But listen, here's the best example as to why this is not the case. And the best example for that is China. I was in China in 1991. Excuse my language, shithole. And again, I didn't have to go to China because I lived in the USSR, which was miserable. China was even worse. I mean, imagine that.
Yeah,
imagine
fully
that.
communist.
Yeah.
Even more communist than the Soviet. But so my point is, they were living in a total misery. Then, even though they kept this kind of funny thing that happened in China, they have a communist political system, and yet they allow private property rights, and they allow the profit. They now have middle class, successful middle class. They build beautiful, the same exact spot where I was, Guangzhou, for instance, which is supposed to be the best developed part of the country. It was part of the so-called special economic zone over there. It was still a shithole. Now I look at the pictures, total unrecognizable. Unrecognizable.
Worse or better?
Much better. Are you kidding me? Much better. So, they were paying $2, if not less, a day. Not even an hour, a day back then. Now that capitalism kicked in, and there is a demand for labor, because a lot of companies are making products over there. As you all know, I'm sure half of your product, of your wear, whatever, is made over there, if not 90%.
I think Bernie's
consumer
merchandise
goods
is made in USA.
Check. I'm not so sure. Printed,
okay.
but the shirt itself,
Hell,
I'm not so
check my
sure.
tag for me?
Dum 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 dum. Made in. Actually, this stuff.
Honduras.
Where? Honduras.
Are you kidding me? What? Which one? The white,
shirt.
the white. Which one? They're both Bernie.
Honduras.
The white one.
I
Honduras.
do not believe you.
Let me see if they're both Honduras.
Well, now I feel sheepish.
The hoodie is union made in America.
Okay.
But the
The
T-shirt.
t-shirt is made in Honduras.
Sorry. Globalization
All right.
that Bernie Sanders is again.
I got
High
this
five.
Maybe it was a plain white t-shirt. For a devil's advocate, maybe it was a plain white t-shirt that was made in Honduras, but then they printed the Bernie stuff
Well, of
on
course,
it.
yeah, locally, of
Okay.
course. Yeah, I'm
God
sure.
damn it.
You lose.
I've been shown in that regard. But to go back to your point about like it would be great if everybody could have
Competition.
like
Competition
Okay.
brings
We can
people
go to
out
that
of
one.
poverty, and capitalism. Fighting for the talent, fighting for labor. Now, say I have a factory. I need labor. Remember how did it happen in our country? Ford. Remember, it all started with Ford, Henry Ford.
Yeah.
He was paying people enough to buy his own cars. It was a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Brilliant idea.
Yeah,
and it
with,
worked.
with inflation from back then it would probably be much higher than $15 an hour, though.
Exactly. See, there you go.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that industrialized our nation, being able to transport ourselves around the country on these cars.
So we've come to the conclusion that capitalism works. Now,
Yes.
what does Bernie Sanders want to do as a socialist? Why would he want to change the system,
He's still-
which
he's
is not
still for
even
capitalism.
which is not even aimed at broken?
It depends on what part of the system you're referring to. He's not suggesting that we implement a fully socialist system in America.
Well, use the word socialist with
I
all due
mean, like,
respect,
look,
but
yeah, democratic socialist. Still is a difference.
which is actually totally incompatible. I mean, they're mutually exclusive.
Capitalism and democratic socialism?
No.
Oh, socialism and
democracy never existed. Give me one example of a socialist country that is democratic.
Well, that's because...
Maybe DPRK. You know what DPRK indeed?
They have a dictator.
In which one?
DPRK.
Easy Korea.
Oh, that one.
Do you remember what D stands for?
Democratic.
See?
Yeah.
How democratic is DPRK?
Not.
Not. So ever...
Did you know that Michael Jordan invented basketball with Kim Jong-il?
It happened. It's fact.
It's in the...
She's being sarcastic. She just doesn't have a good sarcasm face.
No, I know, but when it comes to basketball, another idiot, I forgot his name.
Magic Johnson?
No, another one with a lot of tattoos and you know.
Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, I mean, his best buddy is the dictator of North Korea.
All right, but if we're going to actually get away from the fact that democracy and socialism are incompatible together, there's still a number of countries around the world that call themselves democratic socialists.
Call themselves.
Yes.
Call themselves, but
They ran out of labels. They ran out of labels, and that's what they're using. Like, Denmark has been voted by the United Nations Happiness Index has said for the past 2 years that Denmark is the happiest nation in the world, literally the happiest place on earth.
But you know, speaking
and they still call themselves a democratic socialist country.
You know what? The prime minister or the president of Denmark recently went public on television and pleaded, please do not call my country socialist. Don't believe it, Google it. The leader of Denmark pleaded with the world, please do not call us socialists.
I suppose that's one of the reasons
anyway,
why we shouldn't get hung up on labels then.
Maybe that's why we should actually look up the definitions of the world and not use socialist democrat, something that an oxymoron, or use socialism when you say
Then what would you call it? Capitalism light?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind tweaking capitalism. I'm not saying it's a perfect system, because there isn't such a thing as a perfect system. I mean, there are a lot of things that need to be improved in this country, no doubt about it. But not going left, especially all the way left to what's known as socialism. I mean, that's my point. So by all means, improve things. I'm sure Trump will improve things, and I think that he can actually do a good thing. As a businessman, you know what? Actually, I would like to have someone run the country as business. Do you think that me as a business, I would ever survive being in debt? Not $100,000, $10,000, but $18 trillion in debt? I mean, think about it. $18 trillion in debt?
Well, we've got the pinata there.
Where the country ends up in Chapter 7 to China?
Well, actually...
his fifth failed business? Because in the end, Trump's primary concern is Trump. Any of his 4 bankruptcies have not affected his personal net wealth in the slightest.
His employees, on the other hand, got royally fucked. Pardon my language. If I could go back to another point that you made, though. You said that it would be great if we could all live in palaces and have Lamborghinis and stuff.
Right.
I would just be satisfied if we could all have our basic healthcare needs met.